Hey guys, I'm the Sober Bohemian and I'm really glad to see that you made it here to this channel, to this video, because it means you're showing up for your recovery and you're working towards healing, which is amazing. You kick ass. Today I want to share with you what it's been like to write about my recovery journey. And I haven't made any videos recently because I've been really focused on finishing the last draft of my memoir so that I can send it to editors and get the final process going. I started writing about my journey because I wanted to share the message of hope. And I feel like in the recovery program that I follow, you're very much encouraged to help others, you know, the 12-step, reach out, sponsor other people in recovery. But I'm a highly sensitive person and I'm also very empathic. So I easily get overwhelmed and drained in giving too much of myself, which has resulted in me feeling like I'm not really helping as many people in recovery as I would like to. And writing has felt like my way of giving back and reaching out and sharing the message of hope. Because once the book is published, it has the potential to reach thousands of people. I started attempting to write my memoir, like every time I showed up, I would get a couple of pages and then I would lose track. I would just not know what direction to take it and I'd just freeze and not attempt for a long time. So after many attempts of this over the course of many years, one day it just clicked. The pen didn't stop flowing and I stopped censoring myself and worrying about where it was gonna go, and it just kind of flowed out. Like, I guess I was just ready. And then once I had like an initial story, I started shaping it and molding it to be more of a coherent story from beginning to end, and which parts were relevant, which parts I could leave out. And, you know, after that came the difficult step of sharing it with people to see if my message was indeed getting across and if it wasn't getting lost in translation, I guess. In my head, I'm being clear about something, but to the reader, it might not make sense right off the bat. So looking back, I think that writing that first draft was actually the easiest part, because after that I had to revisit it like so many times to tighten it and shape it and whatnot. And it was like having to relive my past every single time. Sometimes I would be sitting in a cafe and I would be writing about one of the hardest scenes, parts of my life that I went through, and like I would literally be in tears sitting at that table. I say writing, I was typing it on my computer at that point, but like just, you know, I couldn't help myself. Like the feelings would just overcome me, and there were many of those incidents. But more than that, it's, you know, it's like rubbing your nose in your own mistakes, your biggest shame, your biggest regrets. So I had to make sure to allow myself the room to forgive myself. Because when I confronted myself with all the terrible things I'd gone through and inflicted upon myself, I was punishing myself again, blaming myself again. So even though I'd processed a lot of it over the years, the bad feelings were bubbling up and, you know, taking prominence. And so it was like a whole healing from the start again. And then at one point I did feel like at the umpteenth rewrite, like I'd distanced myself from it finally, and I was emotionally removed enough to where I could objectively look at it. But then I'd leave it alone for a couple of months and then revise it again, and it would start feeling fresh again. And sometimes I would literally look at the words and be like, oh my God, this poor girl, did she really go through that? My God, someone please hug her. Like I almost stepped out of myself and looked at the story like that. So it was a very overwhelming experience, and I know I'm not done. I just sent it to for a final developmental edit, and after that some copy editing. So I have a couple of more drafts before taking it to an agent and a publisher. And yeah, we'll see how I survive that. So yeah, it's been a ride, but it's an amazing feeling to know that I've put it down and I've accomplished that. And I can almost picture now my book in someone else's hand. Like I'm at the stage where I can imagine it being published and reaching the souls that I wanted to reach. Like my purpose for writing it is to hopefully help someone else who is struggling, and also help those around the alcoholic or addict understand the addict. And so yeah, I feel like I've done the hardest part now. I made it out alive. So now I have a little bit more freedom to show up in front of the camera again and share my story here with you guys in this format. So just a little introduction about myself. I recently turned 12 in March, so 12 years sober, obviously. Especially the first couple of years, that was literally one day at a time. The first 2 years, I was definitely, struggling every day with cravings and trying to rebuild my life and finding the emotional balance and things like that. And then I think around year 5, I started noticing stretches of months where I hadn't had a craving. And then at a certain point, it all just becomes part of my lifestyle. I'm not really actively focused on trying to be sober anymore. I just adhere to the steps that I've put in place to help keep me sober. And those are a lot of the steps that I've learned through the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, and also just my own morals to live by. I live in truth as much as I can. Yeah, I show up with authenticity and honesty, and I try to keep my emotions in check. I work on my character defects, and I strive for progress, not perfection, meaning that I continuously work on bettering myself, knowing that there's not a perfect version of me that I will one day achieve. There's just a better me than I was yesterday. So that's just quick, in a nutshell, what my recovery looks like. But there's plenty of time and plenty more videos to get more in depth about all of this. So we'll cap it here for now. So please feel free to hit me up in the comments and, let me know what you would like me to share about. Maybe there's something you're struggling with, or maybe you want to know what my experience was with a certain obstacle in recovery. I'd love to talk about it with you guys because we're all here to help each other. And if you're interested in one day reading my book, I'll put a link in the description where you can share your email with me so that I can put you on my email list. Thank you for showing up, and especially showing up for yourself. You got this. Really the easy part, the first draft, just getting stuff out. We gotta work on some light.